Welcome to the 115th regular convocation of Memorial University of Newfoundland, coming to you from the Arts and Culture Centre in St. John's. Approximately 950 degrees will be conferred in the 4 sessions of convocation this fall. The first session took place on October 2nd in Corner Brook, where degrees were conferred on more than 50 graduates, most of whom had completed degree programs at Memorial University's Grenville campus. In this session, taking place at 3 p.m. on Friday, October 20th, there will be the conferring of the degrees of Bachelor of Science Honors, Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Engineering, Bachelor of Commerce Honors, Bachelor of Commerce Honors Cooperative, Bachelor of Commerce Cooperative, Bachelor of Commerce, Bachelor of Business Administration Honors, Bachelor of Business Administration, International Bachelor of Business Administration, Bachelor of Maritime Studies, Bachelor of Technology, Bachelor of Fine Arts, Visual Arts, Bachelor of Resource Management, Master of Science, Master of Engineering, Master of Business Administration, Master of Environmental Science, Master of Marine Studies, Fisheries Resource Management, Master of Applied Science, Master of Engineering Management, Master of Maritime Management, Master of Technology Management, Master of Applied Psychological Science Cooperative, and Master of Science in Management. Also in this session, an honorary Doctor of Laws degree will be conferred upon Pat Carney for her distinguished service as a member of the House of Commons and Senate and for her role in the advancement of women in public life. 2 retired professors, recently named Professor Emeritus, will be presented at the session of convocation. Dr. Alex Fazaruk from the Faculty of Business Administration and from the Faculty of Science Department of Mathematics and Statistics, Dr. Edgar Goodyear. The mace, a symbol of the authority vested in the university, is carried by Ms. Judy Jewison of the Registrar's Office. Convocation will be officially open when the mace is placed on the table in front of the presiding officer.
Please be seated. I would like to declare convocation open. I would also like to respectfully acknowledge the territory in which we gather as the ancestral homelands of the Beothuk and the island of Newfoundland as the ancestral homelands of the Mi'kmaq and the Beothuk. I would also like to recognize the Inuit of Nunatsiavut and Nunatukavut and the Innu of Nitassinan and their ancestors as the original people of Labrador. We strive for respectful relationships with all the peoples of this province as we search for collective healing and true reconciliation, and honor this beautiful land in which we all live together. It's my pleasure now to call upon our President and Vice Chancellor, Dr. Gary Kaczynowski, to address Convocation.
Chancellor, Honorable Minister, members of the Board of Regents, members of the Senate and faculty, members of the graduating class, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our 2016 Fall Convocation on our St. John's campus, Memorial University. We are so pleased that you have joined us for what is always a special time in the life of a university, a time when we celebrate the success of our students. So, of course, a special welcome and congratulations to every one of you, our graduating students. I know that your parents and family and friends and professors all played a supporting role in your success, and they are all here to cheer your accomplishments. But make no mistake, ultimately, it was your dedication, hard work, and talent that brought you here today, so congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in congratulating all of our graduating students. I would like to acknowledge and welcome Mark Bradbury, who joins us on stage this afternoon. Mr. Bradbury is representing our board chair, Iris Petton, who unfortunately could not join us for this session of Convocation. All of our Board of Regents members volunteer their time and contribute significantly to our university. Would you please join me in welcoming and acknowledging our regents? I want to take this opportunity to acknowledge the absence of a familiar face with the sudden passing earlier this month of a true gentleman and champion of Memorial University. I'm speaking of Dr. Richard Marceau, who came to Memorial in 2013 as our Vice President of Research after a distinguished career as an academic and professional engineer. During his short time with us, he worked tirelessly to not only enhance Memorial's research capacity, but all aspects of Memorial, so that this university and its people can continue to positively impact the world around us. Daily, his personal approach was the same, bringing a kind and positive outlook to the challenges and the opportunities of academia, as well as the challenges that life brings us all. He was a friend to many in our extended university community and will be missed. And I certainly want to thank Dr. Ray Gazine, who has been appointed Vice President Research pro tempore, for stepping in. Dr. Gazine is a respected member of the Memorial community who has guided our university's research activities for many years. He joined the Vice President Research portfolio in 2008, and our leadership has benefited greatly from his leadership and administration. Today, we are joined by a special guest who we are all pleased will soon join the ranks of those named as honorary graduates of Memorial University. I'm speaking of the Honorable Pat Carney, business journalist, economic consultant, educator, and accomplished politician. For her major contributions to Canada's political and economic development, her distinguished service as a member of the House of Commons and Senate, and for her role in the advancement of women in public life, she will receive an honorary Doctor of Laws degree this afternoon, and we will hear more about and from her a little later in this convocation session. We are also pleased to recognize this afternoon two retired members of faculty who are each recently accorded the title Professor Emeritus by Memorial University's Senate and Board of Regents. They are Dr. Alex Fazarek and Dr. Edgar Goodair. Our professors emeriti have given their academic, scholarly, and professional lives in service to Memorial University's mission. They have inspired generations of students and helped build this fine institution. And on behalf of the entire Memorial University community, I offer sincere congratulations to each of them, and you will be hearing a little more about them later in this convocation session as well. I'm also pleased to acknowledge and welcome two new deans who have joined our senior leadership team here on our St. John's campus. Dr. Ian Sutherland was appointed as our new dean of the School of Music effective July 1st. He comes to Memorial from his role as Associate Dean for Research and Director of PhD Studies at the IEDC Bled School of Management in Slovenia. Born and raised in Newfoundland and Labrador, and internationally recognized as an expert in the intersection of the arts and business, Dr. Sutherland was originally trained as a professional musician. Welcome as well to Dr. Margaret Steele, who assumed the position of Dean of the Faculty of Medicine in August. Dr. Steele is an experienced academic administrator, scholar, and psychiatrist who has held several senior leadership roles over the course of her extensive career in medicine and academia. She comes to Memorial from Western University in London, Ontario, where she was Vice Dean for Hospital and Interfaculty Relations in the Schulich School of Medicine and Dentistry. Please join me in welcoming them. Finally, I would like to take this opportunity to recognize Ms. Sheila Singleton, University Registrar and Secretary of the Senate of Memorial University. This is Ms. Singleton's last convocation as she is retiring next month. Ms. Singleton has worked with Memorial for 36 years and joined the office of the Registrar in 1984. Prior to serving as University Registrar, she held the roles of Acting Registrar, Deputy Registrar, and Associate Registrar. In recognition of her efforts over the years, Memorial University Student Union presented Ms. Singleton with the union's inaugural award for outstanding contribution to student life, an honor of which she says she is particularly proud. Sheila, on behalf of the entire Memorial University community, and in particular the many students who have benefited from your commitment and your dedication, I offer my sincere thanks and best wishes on your retirement. Please join me in acknowledging and thanking her. Ladies and gentlemen, every degree conferred this morning is the result of a personal journey requiring significant commitment and work, and by itself is worthy of considerable accolades as an important milestone in each student's life. And yet, every year, our students, along with our faculty and staff, amaze us with leadership and achievements above and beyond their required programs of responsibilities that distinguishes them at a national and international level. This year, one student team stands out. This past spring, our Enactus Memorial student team won their 8th national championship in 11 years. They were world champions in 2008 in Singapore in a competition that focuses on improving lives through entrepreneurial action and the development of socially responsible enterprises that inspire hope and create opportunity where little existed. This year, Enactus Memorial undergraduate students from the faculties of Humanities and Social Sciences, Business, Science, and Engineering and Applied Sciences are together running 13 different community projects that address a range of economic, social, and environmental issues, including their new initiative this year, Project Succeed, a project that in 1 year developed and then manufactured an integrated, portable, inexpensive hydroponic system that addresses food insecurity in remote and isolated communities by enabling people to grow fresh produce in their homes, in their schools, or their communities, while simultaneously creating manufacturing jobs here for youth at risk. Earlier this month, competing as Team Canada against 35 other national teams at the World Cup International Competition, they were once again crowned world champions. 1,700 university campuses competing for 36 national teams and one world champion, Memorial University. We couldn't be more proud. Please join me in congratulating them. An announcement earlier this month also marks an unprecedented era in research innovation at Memorial. Through the federal government's Canada First Research Excellence Fund competition, almost $100 million was awarded to create the Ocean Frontier Institute, an historic partnership between Memorial University, Dalhousie, and the University of Prince Edward Island. This landmark investment is one that truly moves Memorial from world-class to world leader in research strengths directly related to our Coasts Initiative, Cold Ocean, and Arctic science, technology, and society. And the last part, society and sustainable coastal communities, is so important. We tell our stories of success and achievements throughout the year in our Research Matters magazine, in our alumni magazine, Luminous, on our Gazette news site, and of course, each fall in our online President's Report. The current theme of the Gazette is student success, which is particularly appropriate during this convocation season, and I encourage you to learn more about the exceptional people at Memorial University, our faculty, our staff, students, retirees, and alumni, and how as active, engaged citizens, they make the world a better place to live, safer, more prosperous, and definitely more interesting. A key part of their success is the sustained and unwavering support of our partners, so I would like to take this opportunity to thank our community and municipal and private sector leaders and other partners for their unwavering commitment and support of Memorial University. And of course, I would be remiss in not thanking our key partner, the provincial government. And I want to acknowledge the Honourable Cathy Bennett, Minister of Finance, who joins us on stage today. Minister, on behalf of Memorial University, I extend my sincere thanks to you and your government for your continued support of Memorial. It really does make a difference. Ladies and gentlemen, please acknowledge that support. Memorial is focused on meeting the needs of our students, developing innovative living and learning spaces, building and renewing appropriate infrastructure for 21st century teaching, research, and public engagement, and making a difference in our communities by contributing to the social, cultural, and economic development of our great province. The university embodies the aspirations of those who founded Memorial University College in 1925 to be a living legacy to those who paid the ultimate price for our freedom in the First World War and in subsequent conflicts, a living legacy dedicated to the advancement of our society through education. Graduates, you are part of this legacy and this aspiration. You walked into this hall today as students who completed the requirements for your degrees. You will leave as alumni of Memorial University, joining a family of almost 90,000 strong. You are the rightful heirs of the bold young people who stepped forward to preserve our freedom, and you honor their memory with your success and presence here today. This is your time to take to heart the responsibilities and the privileges that come with your degree and make your mark in Newfoundland and Labrador and across the country and the world. Now more than ever, we need your ingenuity, your know-how, and your leadership to advance this province and our country. Congratulations to each of you as you leave here today to begin the next adventure in your lives. I know you will do us proud. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kaczynowski. We shall now proceed with the conferring of your degrees. And I have to ask all the people in the room who are not graduating to exercise some self-control and patience, because I'm suggesting to you that unless some special circumstance is mentioned as the graduates come across the stage to receive their degrees, that you would withhold your applause until all the candidates in each group have received their degrees, and then you can blow the ceiling off. We are gathered here in an atmosphere of anticipation, joy, pride, and promise. And that's because of you. In fact, that's why we're here. That's why Memorial exists, because of you. So this is a very special moment in your lives, and you will be able to remember it because of this book, because you'll be able to watch it, as will your grandchildren, although God knows what device they will watch it on. But I'm going to say to you, or suggest to you that you find some moment in this afternoon, an interior moment to reflect and capture, because this is really the summit of a great deal of work and dedication, and it's your moment. So something you can pull out decades hence.
Madam Chancellor, in the name of the Senate of the University, I present to you the candidates for the undergraduate degrees approved for this session of Convocation. I have certified to the Senate that these candidates have fulfilled all the requirements pertaining to the degrees. I therefore request that you admit them thereto.
On the authority of the Senate, I, as Chancellor, will now admit the candidates to these degrees and confer upon them all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities which belong thereto. I call upon them on the hearing of their name to present themselves before me to assume the hood appropriate to the degree.
For the degree of Bachelor of Science Honors, Courtney Elizabeth Gray.
Courtney Elizabeth Gray is from Mount Pearl.
Whitney Patricia Manston.
Whitney Patricia Manston is from Channel, Port Basque.
Brad Yetman.
Brad Yetman is from Mount Pearl.
And those who have been approved by Senate for the degree but are absent from this convocation.
Admitted in absentia.
For the degree of Bachelor of Science, Jessica Diane Andrews.
Jessica Diane Andrews is from St. John's.
Kenneth Peter Collingwood.
Kenneth Peter Collingwood is from St. John's.
Inez Guy.
Inez Guy is from Argentina.
Justice Ogano Harry.
Justice Ogano Harry is from St. John's.
Zara Mariam Khan.
Zara Mariam Khan is from St. John's.
Ruvimbo Yolanda Mashena.
Ruvimbo Yolanda Mishena is from Zimbabwe.
Lauren Emma Malay.
Lauren Emma Malay is from St. John's.
Timothy Patrick Murray.
Timothy Patrick Murray is from St. John's.
Min Cho.
Min Cho is from St. John's.
Megan Colleen Robson.
Megan Colleen Robson is from Great Harbour Deep.
Hilda Sabanda.
Hilda Sibanda is from Zimbabwe.
Jyoti Sam.
Jyoti Sam is from India.
Jacqueline Marlene Tizard.
Jacqueline Marlene Tizard is from St. John's.
Natasha Nicole Warren.
Natasha Nicole Warren is from Chapel Arm.
And those who have been approved by Senate for the degree but are absent from this convocation.
Admitted in absentia.
For the degree of Bachelor of Engineering. Tendai Madungi.
Tendai Madungi is from St. John's.
And those who have been approved by Senate for the degree but are absent from this convocation.
Admitted in absentia.
For the degree of Bachelor of Commerce Cooperative. Alexander Dennis Berry.
Alexander Dennis Berry is from Mount Pearl.
Kayla Celeste Green.
Kayla Celeste Green is from Outer Cove.
Nicholas David Hillier.
Nicholas David Hillier is from Gander.
Melissa Marion Johnson.
Melissa Marion Johnson is from St. John's.
Justin Matthew Mercer.
Justin Matthew Mercer is from St. John's.
Craig Newton.
Craig Newton is from Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Michelle Jennifer Randall.
Michelle Jennifer Randall is from Conception Bay South.
Aaron Watkins.
Aaron Watkins is from Milltown.
and those who have been approved by Senate for the degree but are absent from this convocation.
Admitted in absentia.
For the degree of Bachelor of Business Administration Honors. Hedy Aracha Asori Sarah Pereira.
Hedy Azatra Azoria Seva Pereira is from Sri Lanka.
And those who've been approved by Senate for the degree but absent from this convocation.
Admitted in absentia.
For the degree of Bachelor of Business Administration. Mustafa Asaid.
Mustafa Asaid is from St. John's.
Denise Ann Brophy.
Denise Ann Brophy is from St. John's.
Charles Andrew Byrne.
Charles Andrew Byrne is from Bell Island.
Anna Gray Rain Campbell.
Anna Gray Rain Campbell is from St. John's.
Jerry Christian.
Jerry Christian is from Indonesia.
Rebecca Ann Coffey.
Rebecca Ann Coffey is from Branch.
Hong Wei Kui.
Hong Wei Kui is from China.
Walter Joseph Dinham.
Walter Joseph Dinham is from St. John's.
Lindsay Denise Efford.
Lindsay Denise Efford is from Mount Pearl.
Matthew Darren Elford.
Matthew Darren Elford is from Dildo.
Jennifer Leanne Frampton.
Jennifer Leanne Frampton is from St. John's.
Alexandra Mary Hahn.
Alexandra Mary Han is from Placentia.
Ashlyn Victoria Ann Hardery.
Ashlyn Victoria Ann Hardery is from St. John's.
Brandon Paul Hindi.
Brandon Paul Hindi is from Winterton.
David Michael Hallwell.
David Michael Hallwell is from St. John's.
David Andrew Hutchins.
David Andrew Hutchins is from St. John's.
Shaylin Nicole Jared.
Sharon Nicole Jarrett is from Cavendish.
Yang Tal Zhao.
Yangtang Zhou is from China.
Zhang Tingjin.
Shan Ting Jin is from St. John's.
Shakila Sandaram Kahawidaj.
Shakila Sundaran Kahawatinaj is from Sri Lanka.
Josue Molambi Colombo.
Jose Malumbi Colombo is from Grand Falls, Windsor.
Amika Kachi.
Amika Kaji is from Nepal.
Tiani Lane King.
Dion Eileen King is from Goulds.
Brandon Shane Maloney.
Brandon Sean Maloney is from Bridgetown, Nova Scotia.
Tapi Wanashi David Mapani.
Tapiwanashi David Mapani is from Zimbabwe.
Asante Ayero America.
Asante Ivor Mayeka is from Zimbabwe.
Sayer Durash Miramahasai.
Sayer Derash Mir Mohammad Saeed is from Ontario.
Melanie Grace Modesto.
Melanie Grace Modesto is from St. John's.
Danusha Jamali Manyugamiwa Hiwaj.
Dinusha Jimanali Magnumawa Hewaj is from Sri Lanka.
Samahi Madua Nambukera Wasem.
Samdi Mahawa Nambukara Wasam is from Sri Lanka.
Joshua Gerard Nash.
Joshua Gerard Nash is from St. John's.
Amy Cavell Perel.
Amy Cavell Perel is from St. John's.
Chelsea Nicole Porter.
Chelsea Nicole Porter is from Point Lentz.
Carrie Lynn Strickland.
Carrie Lynn Strickland is from Paradise.
William Walter Tremlett.
William Walter Tremlett is from Bishop Falls.
Miriam Elizabeth Ann Upshaw.
Miriam Elizabeth Ann Upshaw is from St. John's.
Simon Wessels.
Simon Wessels is from St. John's. Han Shu. Han Shu is from China.
And those who have been approved by Senate for the degree but are absent from this convocation.
Admitted in absentia.
For the degree of International Bachelor of Business Administration. Sana Abdullah Quayam Gori.
Sana Abdul Quayam Gori is from Saudi Arabia.
Colin Paul Rose.
Colin Paul Rose is from St. John's.
For the degree of Bachelor of Maritime Studies. Kevin Slater Gore.
Kevin Slater Gore is from St. John's.
Don Christie Upshaw.
Don Christie Upshaw is from Little Harbor East.
And those who have been approved by Senate for the degree but are absent from this convocation.
Admitted in absentia.
For the degree of Bachelor of Technology. Carl Warren Blunden.
Carl Warren Blunden is from Conception Bay South.
Jessica Ann Cole.
Jessica Ann Cole is from Colliers.
Robin Christina Phillip.
Robin Christina Phillip is from Kitchener, Ontario.
Michael Joseph Hillier.
Michael Joseph Hillier is from St. John's.
Suzanne Maya Castellan.
Suzanne Maya Castellan is from Hamilton, Ontario.
And those who have been approved by Senate for the degree but are absent from this convocation.
Admitted in absentia.
For the degree of Bachelor of Fine Arts, Visual Arts. All candidates in absentia.
Admitted in absentia.
For the degree of Bachelor of Resource Management. Zuri Miguel.
Zuri Miguel is from St. John's.
Madam Chancellor, in the name of the Senate of the University, I present to you the candidates for graduate degrees approved for this session of Convocation. I have certified to the Senate that these candidates have fulfilled all the requirements pertaining to the degrees. I therefore request that you admit them thereto.
On the authority of the Senate, I, as Chancellor, will now admit the candidates to these degrees and confer upon them all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities which belong thereto. I call upon them, on the hearing of their names, to present themselves before me to assume the hood appropriate to the degree.
For the degree of Master of Science, Sovet Reg Chelsea.
Sovet Raj Chalze is from Nepal.
Zobeda Begum Dewan.
Sobeda Begum Dewan is from St. John's.
Tyler James Downey.
Tyler James Downey is from Mount Pearl.
Muhammad Mahmoudul Hassan.
Mohammed Mahmoudul Hassan is from St. John's.
Xiaolei Li.
Xiaolei Li is from China.
Yi Liu.
Elio is from China.
Anulika Blessing Umpekwe.
Annalika Blessing Bekwe is from Nigeria.
Ida Rahimi.
Ida Rahimi is from St. John's.
Mahama Rufer Raman.
Muhammad Lufur Rahman is from St. John's.
Lucas Spies.
Lucas Spies is from Germany.
Lucas Daniel Stewart.
Lucas Daniel Stewart is from St. Bernard's.
Injong.
Wing Zhang is from China.
And those who have been approved by the Senate for the degree but are absent from this convocation.
Admitted in absentia.
For the degree of Master of Engineering. For the degree of Master of Business Administration. Justin Alexander Chisholm.
Justin Alexander Chisholm is from Dartmouth, Nova Scotia.
Lindsay Teresa Hewitt, winner of the Faculty of Business Administration Dean's MBA Award.
Lindsay Teresa Hewitt is from Marystown.
Chidima Usomaka Okena Afamefuna.
Chimita Okamaka Okina Afafuma is from St. John's. Is from Nigeria.
Hernie Kaur Sidhu.
Harneek Kaur Sidhu is from Kenya.
And those who have been approved by the Senate for the degree but are absent from this convocation.
Admitted in absentia.
For the degree of Master of Maritime Studies, Fisheries Resource Management. Audrey Jo Lee McCarthy.
Audrey Jo Lee McConkey is from Valley, Nova Scotia.
For the degree of Master of Applied Science. Chiagozium Ugochi Amadi.
Chiagozium Ugochi Amadi is from Brampton, Ontario.
Yanbing Chen.
Yanbing Chen is from China.
Marcelo Cosme da Costa.
Marcelo Cosme da Costa is from St. John's.
Amir Ali Darudi.
Amir Ali Darudi is from St. John's.
Hussein Golson.
Hussam Gosen is from St. John's.
Kristen Gianna Liam Iorio.
Kristen Gian Liam Ario is from Ajax, Ontario.
Nitish Khanna.
Nitish Khanna is from India.
Xiuhua Li.
Showa Li is from China.
Zeyu Li.
Seu Li is from China.
Sharif Morsi.
Sharif Morsi is from St. John's.
Chukwuwiki Odibi.
Chukwuwiki Odibi is from St. John's.
Jianan Xu.
Xiaonan Xu is from China.
Chuan Xue.
Chuan Xu is from St. John's.
Bao Chenyang.
Bao Chenyang is from China.
Si Yinyang.
Xun Yang is from China.
Miao Yu.
Miao Yu is from China.
Gang Luzhang.
Gang Luzhang is from China.
And those who have been approved by the Senate for the degree but are absent from this convocation.
Admitted in absentia.
For the degree of Master of Engineering. Adel Rahman Ahmed.
Adair Rahman Ahmed is from Egypt.
Akan Chakar.
Akran Çakır is from Turkey.
Kasuni Taka.
Kansuni Taka is from St. John's.
Shen Qijiang.
Shenqi Zhang is from China.
Aninda Mandal.
Aninda Mandal is from St. John's.
Mahama Sharia Nizam.
Mahama Sharia Nizam is from Bangladesh.
Mark Andrea Van Stalwijnen.
Mark Adrian Van Stalwijnen is from St. John's.
Dan Wang,
Dan Wong is from St. John's.
Chen Ying,
Chang Ying is from China.
Jin Hanzhong,
Jinghang Shong is from St. John's.
Ke Dongzhang,
Kadong Shong is from China.
and those who have been approved by the Senate for the degree but are absent from this convocation.
Admitted in absentia.
For the degree of Master of Engineering Management, candidate in absentia.
Admitted in absentia.
For the degree of Master of Maritime Management, Kingsley Yo Chia.
Kingsley Yo Chia is from St. John's.
And those who have been approved by the Senate for the degree but are absent from this convocation.
Admitted in absentia.
For the degree of Master of Technology Management, Jeffrey William Barnes.
Jeffrey William Burns is from St. John's.
Stephen Andrew Foley.
Stephen Andrew Foley is from St. John's.
Arrow Vijayavumakan Prasad.
Errol Vijayamalkan Prasad is from Moncton, New Brunswick.
And those who have been approved by the Senate for the degree but are absent from this convocation.
Admitted in absentia.
For the degree of Master of Applied Psychological Science Cooperative, Olivia Chelsea Clary.
Olivia Chelsea Cleary is from Goulds.
Chelsea Elizabeth Gagne.
Chelsea Elizabeth Gagne is from Sudbury, Ontario.
Lauren Tara Matthews.
Lauren Tara Matthews is from Calgary, Alberta.
Sandra Laurie Squires Parsons.
Sandra Laurie Squires Parsons is from Mount Pearl.
Michelle Sarah Ryan.
Michelle Sarah Ryan is from St. John's.
And those who have been approved by the Senate for the degree but are absent from this convocation.
Admitted in absentia.
For the degree of Master of Science in Management, Jennifer Lynn Smith.
Jennifer Lynn Smith is from St. John's.
the degree of for the degree of Master of Environmental Science, candidates in absentia.
Admitted in absentia. This afternoon, we will be entertained by performers from the opera program in our School of Music. Directed by Dr. Caroline Schiller and Coach Eldon Murray, Opera at Memorial is a training program designed to meet the needs of today's young professional singers. You can actually hear them again, if you're around, on December 4th in a concert of Mozart opera scenes with Mons Chamber Orchestra. This afternoon, we're going to hear them sing two selections. First, they'll sing a barcarolle from Les Contes d'Hoffmann by Jacques Offenbach, and then they will sing an arrangement by Roger Emerson of In Flanders Fields. The pianist, who you never get to see, and usually he's gone by the time I acknowledge him, so I'm going to do it at the beginning. The accompanist is Paul Rodermond, and the soloists are Monica Porter and Hannah O'Donnell. Thank you very much to our musicians from our School of Music. I'd like now to call upon our Provost and Vice President Academic, Dr. Noreen Goffman, and she will introduce the Professores Emeriti.
Madam Chancellor, the title of Professor Emeritus or Professor Emerita is a distinction accorded to retired members of faculty. To be eligible, a person must normally have served at least 10 years as a regular full-time faculty member and have held the rank of professor upon retirement. The prime criteria for nomination are a sustained and superlative record as a scholar, as a teacher, or as an academic administrator, or any combination of these. Dr. Alex Fazarek was a pillar of teaching excellence at the Faculty of Business Administration for 35 years. A 3M teaching fellow, Dr. Fazarek received 24 teaching awards over the course of his career, including Professor of the Year by graduating classes, the President's Award for Distinguished Teaching, National Post Leaders in Management Education, the Distinguished Teaching Award from Academy of Finance, and the Beta Gamma Sigma Leadership Award. He coached memorial teams in national and international case paper writing, stock market, and entrepreneurial competitions that resulted in memorial students winning more than 50 first places. In 2006, he was the inaugural recipient of the Dr. J. Pierre Brunet Coach Award at the John Molson MBA International Case Competition, and he won the Arnoldi Award for Coaching Excellence at the Intercollegiate Business Competition Championships in 2008. Dr. Fazarek has produced over 80 refereed proceedings and conference papers, as well as 45 journal publications. He has served on the editorial boards of 3 journals, and he has been on the executive for research organizations, including serving as president of MBAA International. He also received 20 awards recognizing his service to the business faculty and the university, including Memorial's Faculty Volunteer of the Year Award in 1999. Dr. Fazarek is a graduate of Queen's University, Dalhousie University, the University of Kentucky, and Queen's College. Madam Chancellor, I present to you, for the distinction of Professor Emeritus, Dr. Alex Fazarek. Dr. Edgar Goodare has an impressive research record. His committed and scholarly teaching, contributions to Memorial University and to the broader community, and his infectious can-do enthusiasm helped promote many causes important to the intellectual life of his department and the university. He was head of the Department of Mathematics and Statistics from 1991 to 1994, and interim head from 2011 to 12. Dr. Goodare served on numerous departmental, faculty, and university committees and review panels prior to his retirement in 2013. His years of service to the Canadian Mathematical Society include terms as treasurer and vice president, and work on numerous committees from 1982 to 2001. He provided the impetus for an international summer school for graduate students, which continues to this day under the auspices of the Atlantic Association for Research in Mathematical Sciences, and he has served as its first director for 3 years between 2002 and 2004. Dr. Goodare was inducted into the Science Atlantic Hall of Fame in 2013, and he received the Distinguished Service Award from the Canadian Mathematical Society in 2004. He has continuously received research funding from the Natural Sciences and Engineering Research Council from 1973 on up to the present. He has written 6 books, 90 refereed journal articles, and 52 mathematical reviews. Madam Chancellor, I present to you for the distinction of Professor Emeritus Edgar Goodare.
We shall now proceed to the conferring of the degree honoris causa.
For the degree of Doctor of Laws honoris causa, Pat Kearney.
Madam Chancellor, ancient civilizations living in epic elemental landscapes relied on female divinities for energy to protect them from the predatory monsters and dragons of land and sea. The Greeks had Athena, goddess of energy. The Irish called upon Brigid's fire. The Inuit invoked the sun goddess Malina, and Kuan Yin's compassionate and miraculous powers inspired the Chinese. All these women had the agency and the autonomy to bring hope to benighted humanity. Canadians, nearly 40 years ago, Madam Chancellor, were far too sophisticated to believe in magical, mystical, powerful female goddesses. After all, we had our man-made federal and provincial rules and regulations to stand on guard for us. We didn't need extraterrestrial intervention to interpret and negotiate terms of governance of our recently discovered oil and natural gas resources. Or so we thought. Nevertheless, in Newfoundland and Labrador, we did have the great and the good fortune to be able to rely on a woman from British Columbia, the woman we celebrate today, Pat Kearney. As Minister of Energy, her vision of the governance of natural resources based on equity and equality between this province and the federal government drove her to ask a fundamental question. What if we treated the Newfoundland and Labrador oil and natural gas resources as if they were on land, like Alberta's? Pat Kearney and Bill Marshall worked out the policy parameters based on equity and equality, which she firmly upheld when she became Federal Minister of Energy in 1985, and together with the two Bryans, Peckford and Mulrooney, she fast-tracked the Atlantic Accord, an historic agreement giving joint management of offshore resources, with Newfoundland and Labrador getting the greater share of royalty revenues from oil and gas. Madam Chancellor, this landmark accord ensured our place as equal partners in Confederation and laid the groundwork for this province's subsequent prosperity. As Pat Kearney has said, the ideal of equality has been the single most powerful force driving my political career, and the precious asset of equal Canadian citizenship with equal treatment and access to federal funding and representation in this vast, diverse country is a critical, unifying force. She may not have had divine powers, but Pat Carney had the education and the experience to warrant her agency and autonomy at the top levels of government. She held degrees in economics, political science, and community and regional planning. She had been a seasoned journalist with her own independent business column, and for 11 years, she had run a thriving consulting business, Gemini North, in Canada's northern communities. In 1980, she was the first woman Conservative Member of Parliament elected in British Columbia, and later the first woman Conservative appointed from British Columbia to the Senate. In fact, Pat Carney was the first woman in virtually every post she held in government. She was the first woman finance and energy critic, and the first woman appointed to 3 senior cabinet positions. After her success as Minister of Energy, Pat Carney went on to become Minister of Trade and International Development and Minister of Finance. Now, in the traditional discourse of the day, the 1980s, the Prime Minister told her he was giving her the ball, and as Minister, he told her to run with it. Her mandate was to compete in the most contentious and controversial games of the day, to negotiate a free trade agreement between Canada and the United States. And win the game she did, in the all-male arena of fierce head-to-head plays where many trade officials and Ottawa bureaucrats would rather run interference than say, "Yes, Minister," to a woman. The Prime Minister, who praised her integrity and negotiating skill, freely acknowledged that back then it was 10 times harder for a woman's judgment to be accepted, let alone respected. Now, Pat, with her usual wit, pointed out that perhaps her flaming Irish temper didn't hurt either. And I would suggest that perhaps the lessons she'd learned working in her father's veterinary practice proved useful too. She learned that she could talk to the animals and could talk the animals into submission. And also, and perhaps they didn't know this, but she revealed in her memoir that she knew how to skin a porcupine. Throughout her life, Pat Carney has not only upheld the principles of equality and equity between provinces, but also the principles of equity and equality between women and men. In the 1980s, she was a pathfinder in both senses of the word, showing others how to find a way through the political thickets of turf wars, broken promises, and betrayed allegiances. She also, like the Pathfinder World War II pilots, knew how to locate, expose, and take out instances of stereotyping, discrimination, and misogyny in corporate and in political cultures. Madam Chancellor, when Canadian women at that time were barely hanging in let alone leaning in, Pat took on the challenges of working in a strange and alien culture. For behind the looking glass of appearances, she confronted the stark realities of political life. The task force on barriers to women in the public service that she established in 1990 shone a light on the cultural reasons why women's achievements in public life were often ignored or even deliberately overlooked. Madam Chancellor, Pat Carney once lightheartedly told the biographer Christina McCall that she really wanted to be Minister of Myths and Magic to enchant Canadians. Madam Chancellor, we all need enchantment in life, and we all need women and men whose intelligence, education, hard work, and courage bring all of us towards an harmonious, fair, and equitable vision of what really matters in life. Pat's mother, Dora Saunders Carney, told her that in life she should look for the colors and listen for the music. Today, in this colorful ceremony, we have listened to that beautiful music, and with gratitude, we honor this remarkable woman for her singular contribution to the political and public life of all Canadians. Madam Chancellor, I ask you to confer on Pat Carney the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa.
Of the authority entrusted to me, I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chancellor, Honourable Minister, Mr. President, members of the Board of Regents, members of the Senate and faculty, members of the graduating class, and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to say before I start my remarks that Professor Stavely has pretty well covered the waterfront. There's not much need for me to add much more, but I will. I should mention two things. One is that I am not divine, but I am Irish. And secondly, about the talking to animals, which my campaign manager used to be terrified I would say in public. If you have a cougar dog, ripped and bleeding, you better learn to talk to that cougar dog if you want to get some anesthetic into him, or you run for your life. So it's very practical. Two other small biographical notes you should know. One is, I am a bionic woman. I have several titanium parts. If I tip over, don't panic. Two people are geared to pick me up. And the second thing is, for years, I was an adjunct professor at my home University of UBC. So I know while many of you are waiting to listen to my remarks, there is a tiny minority that are waiting to adjourn this convocation to George Street pubs. So I will keep both in mind. I'm very honored to address this 115th convocation and to receive an honorary degree from an institution with which I've shared a grand adventure, because before Twittersphere, before Facebook, before the world as you know it, Memorial's telemedicine expert Dr. Max House and I were pioneer experimenters on Canada's Hermes communication satellite, the world's first geostationary interactive communication satellite. Hermes opened the door to delivering telemedicine and teleeducation to remote communities from here and abroad, using one-way television and 2 audio channels. In those days, that, of course, had never been done before. The fun of Hermes was that our project teams couldn't fail. We learned what worked, and we learned what didn't work. We experimented with telemedicine seminars for doctors, teleeducation programs for educators, like teaching firefighters how to fight forest fires at a distance. We had satellite-delivered instruction on how to use computers. That worked. Arthritis clinics, didn't need it. Who needs to see swollen joints on television? My hands. You don't need to hear ouch on an audio channel. One of the most exciting experiments I remember with Max House, who was a real innovator, was we were doing telemedicine with an Aboriginal patient called Barnaby, who was in Moose Factory, and the doctors were down somewhere in central Canada, maybe Toronto. And they were trying to diagnose whether Barnaby had ulcers. And so he stood there in Moose Factory in his little nightshirt, one of those little hospital clinics, you know. And the doctors, hundreds of miles a day, were saying, well, turn around, you know, Barnaby. And he had to glug this white stuff. I'm not a medical person. I mean, cougar dogs is it, okay? And then the doctors would find out whether or not he had ulcers. And Dr. House and I agree that was one of the most exciting things we'd ever participated in. Historical note, Barnaby did not have ulcers. At Nassau conferences on our experiments at Cape Canaveral, none of our colleagues had ever actually studied communication satellites, and that's why I'm telling you this. There were educators, physicists, medical doctors, economists like myself, but we had learned a key lesson. What we do in our life usually builds on what we've already done. Every experience creates others, and that's why life is such a huge adventure. So your accomplishment in earning your degrees here today is part of your personal adventure. You don't really know yet where that adventure will lead you in the future. You will probably be working in jobs and industries that have not yet been invented. And a lot of you are international students, and a lot of you who are here from Newfoundland and Labrador will be working internationally. So you don't even know yet where your careers will take you. For me, my greatest adventure started with a question. When I was asked to run for Member of Parliament, I was working in Yukon with my company, analyzing the social and economic benefits of a proposed natural gas pipeline. Now, I stood in that Yukon office in my northern parka, staring at the pink message slip on the spike on the telephone, wondering, would anyone vote for me? Like, would anyone ever walk into a polling booth in a church or a community hall or a school and take that little yellow pencil and mark an X beside my name? And if they did, what would happen? What if they gave me their vote? And I picked up the telephone, returned the call, and gambled my future on the power of a vote. I won that first federal election by 2 votes. I remember the CBC report saying, and in Vancouver Centre, you know. Conservative Pat Carney defeated the Liberal candidate by 2 votes. Over the years, people have told me, and we're talking decades, over the years, people have told me they cast those 2 votes. They drove in from the cottage. They finished their hospital ship and they rushed to the polls. They lugged a crying child from daycare to the polling booth to cast their vote, and they were right. They were the 2 votes. Among the thousands who voted in Vancouver Centre in that election, every single person who cast their vote contributed to that slim 2-vote majority. Now, I have to confess I lost that election on the recount by 95 votes. doesn't feel like you lose when you win on election night. But the momentum from that two-vote victory elected me to the House of Commons a few months later in 1980 and again in 1984. And everything I have achieved in public life started with those two votes. So think of the power of two votes. They helped change Canada. My role in negotiating the historic Atlantic Accord in 1985 with Newfoundland and Labrador, the Canada-US Free Trade Agreement in 1987, the energy accords with the Western provinces, we're not leaving the West out of this today. Dozens of other issues all sprang from those two votes, even saving our maritime icons, heritage lighthouses, including 15 heritage lighthouses now here in Newfoundland and Labrador, all came from those two votes. Now, I also, here today, I was invited Loyola Hearn, who was the fisheries minister when I was pushing the Heritage Lighthouse with Senator Mike Forstall through the House of Commons and the Senate. He went on to serve as our ambassador in Ireland. I hope he's here. He's the only fishery minister I ever know who wrote an ode to lighthouses. I will spare a famed, choral expert like you from my singing this ode, but the first sentence did go something like, "Who will light the lights when the light keeper's gone?" And I'll send you the words because I think that you should add it to your repertoire. The Atlantic Accord was a watershed in Newfoundland's economic development. It enabled the first oil and gas production from our offshore energy resources, such as Hibernia, and it lifted Newfoundland and Labrador from perennial have-not province to have status, generating a whole new level of prosperity for Newfoundlanders. The genesis of the Accord sprung from discussions between Bill Marshall, who is here today, and myself months before the 1984 election that swept Prime Minister Mulroney into office. I was the Conservative energy critic. Bill Marshall was Newfoundland's energy minister. Historically, to give those of you who don't study political science a fast reprise, Canadian provinces have constitutional rights to their natural resources, including oil and gas, and thus collect the royalties. Newfoundland and Labrador, who joined in 1949, wanted the same deal, but the Supreme Court of Canada had ruled that the offshore resources belonged to the federal government, not Newfoundland. So it was a pretty bitter political impasse. Bill Marshall is with us today. Now, I was a rookie MP from British Columbia. No one expected much from a woman and a Westerner. And for you women graduating today, sometimes being underestimated is a good thing. So when I said, what if we forget about ownership and we treat the oil and gas resources as if they were on land, like other provinces, Minister Marshall did not say, for heaven's sake, Pat, don't you know the difference between a wheat field and a seabed? He said, so Newfoundland gets the royalties like Alberta? Why not? So over soup and sandwiches up in Confederation Building, we hammered out the as-if option, like what if, as if, and took it back to our respective bosses, Opposition Leader Brian Mulroney and Premier Brian Peckford, and the Atlantic Accord was born. Now, unfortunately, there is no way to verify this historic moment. The only witness was my legislative assistant, who was absorbed in the fact that the waiter's fly was open and was watching to see what might emerge from the trousers and forgot to take notes. That's true. Even one vote can count. When I served in the Senate, the Conservative government proposed legislation that would limit a woman's right to abortion, a very emotional issue. But to appease conflicting views, Bill C-43 was so poorly drafted that it couldn't work. And Madam Minister today will, I think, agree with me that a bad law is worse than no law at all. The legislation passed the House of Commons, but when it came to the Senate, I joined those senators who voted nay against my own government. The result was a tied vote. And under Senate rules, a tied vote kills the legislation. So Bill C-43 became the first government bill to be defeated in the Senate in 30 years. Once again, every vote counted. The power of a vote to make a difference. Many people, and a lot of Canadians, feel their vote won't change anything. One vote won't count, but they're wrong. Our Canadian values have been shaped by the power of a vote. Some examples. In 1972, the closest federal election in Canadian history, the vote between Pierre Trudeau's Liberals and Robert Stanfield's Conservatives was so close that the morning after, Canadians were not sure who was Prime Minister. The Liberals were elected the winners eventually with a 2-seat majority over the Tories in the House of Commons. Now, if Pierre Trudeau had lost that election, would we have our Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which he introduced 10 years later when Canada passed the Constitution Act? Or think of the Quebec referendum in October 30th, 1995, when Quebecers voted on whether Quebec should become an independent country. The no vote won by less than 1%. Imagine, 1%. I was around, as many of you were that night, and Prime Minister Jean Chrétien, who everyone liked in Parliament, normally is viewed as a fighter, but that night, as the yes and no vote battled it out, he looked on television like a fighter on the ropes. In past eras, people used guns to gain political power, and alas, in much of the world, as we know today, they still do. But again, people have used their voting power to push politicians out of office. In 1993, Canadians, fed up with Brian Mulroney's Conservatives, used their voting power to reduce them from a majority government to 2 MPs in the House of Commons. At 2 MPs, you lose even your official status. So go from majority government to less than status in one election. And I remember that because I was commentating for CTV that night, and to interpret to the masses what was happening. Well, after Elsie Wayne had been elected in New Brunswick and Jean Charest in Quebec, for once I had nothing to say. Nobody won west of those two on the Conservative parties. The power of the people's vote is the greatest single force in global politics today, and you will live with that. Think Brexit. British voters exercised the power of their vote when they voted to leave the European Union earlier this year after 43 years of membership. You're going to live in this world. We have yet to learn how that will play out, given that Northern Ireland and Scotland voted to remain in the EU and that the British economy is so closely integrated with Europe. In Belgium, this amazes me, MPs in a small region called Wallonia, I had to Google it to find out where Wallonia is, they voted down the Canada-European Union trade agreement. The European Union covers 500 million people in 29 countries, which produce $15 trillion in economic activity. That's a very big market for Canada. Yet a handful of MPs in a very small region can veto a trade agreement that took 7 years to negotiate. Colombian President Juan Manuel Santos won the Nobel Peace Prize for negotiating an end to Colombia's 50-year civil war, but in a referendum, a majority of Colombia voters voted down the deal with the rebels. Now, when I came into St. John's in the rain the other night, the Air Canada customer service person who was helping me get to the car was from Colombia. And when I said to her, what is going on? Did he have to give the money back? That's the most important thing. He wins the Nobel Prize, he gets $1 million or something. Does he have to give it back? And the country says no. I said, what happened? And she said, it's very complicated. She probably studied economics at one point if she said that. But she said, basically, the war with the rebels killed hundreds of thousands of people, and it displaced millions others. And a lot of Colombians, a majority, didn't want the rebels in the government, so they voted no, the power of the vote. Now, she's a chemical engineer working for Air Canada because she can't get a job here, so any of you with any contacts, go up there, we'll give you her name. Her husband has a degree in political science, and I'm going to give him to Russ. Russell, you're going to get that name. Think of America. In 2000, Republican George Bush won the U.S. presidency by one vote over the Democratic presidential candidate, Vice President Al Gore. Under the Electoral College system used by the U.S. to choose the president and the vice president, Bush needed 270 votes to win. His final count was 271. One Gore electoral voter abstained. You know, I don't know, I couldn't find out who it was. One person abstained. Would we be dealing with the misery and the miscalculation that flowed from the war in Iraq if that abstainer had cast his vote for Gore? And of course, the whole world, I haven't seen it here in Newfoundland because you've kept me all so busy, but everyone's transfixed by the fallout feared if Donald Trump became president of the United States, the world's greatest power, in a US election that's just days away. But when people say, how could he get there? People voted for him. He voted him there. The power of a vote. The concept of electing people to office was used in ancient Rome to choose popes and Holy Roman emperors. In reality, the right to vote and the power of the ballot box was tightly restricted, sometimes to a state's and vested interests, not actual human beings. Even in Canada, only men could vote until 1916. We're celebrating the 100th year of women and the vote here in Canada, and when some of the provinces granted women the vote. Many Chinese Canadians were barred from voting until 1947. Aboriginal Canadians won full voting rights only in 1960. We have one of the most accessible political systems in the Western democracies. Any citizen aged 18 years or older and out of jail can be a candidate for federal office. There are a few exceptions, like judges. Imagine saying to a judge, if you dismiss my drunk driving charge, I will give you my vote. So they're not permitted. Unlike other countries, the candidate doesn't have to be rich. Anyone with $1,000 and 100 signatures can file nomination papers. He or she does not even have to be members of a formal political party. I have run against the Rhinoceros Party. I did win against that. Once the election is called, there are strict limits on what candidates can spend or what supporters can contribute at the federal level. If those limits are exceeded, the candidates and their official agents go to jail, and they did as recently as 2014. I looked this up. In the 2015 federal election, a survey showed that the average candidate in Canada spent well under the legal limits on his or her campaign once the election was called. Conservatives, my party, spent on average $90,000. Liberals spent $70,000. NDP, $50,000. The Greens, a measly $12,000. The only Green elected was my MP, Elizabeth May, in Saanich, Gulf Island. Contrast that with the US. In 2012, it cost the average candidate $10 million to win a seat in the US Senate, according to the Center for Public Integrity. Candidates elected to the House of Representatives spent an average of $1.6 million. Measure that against 12,000. My American colleagues often told me that they must start fundraising for their next election, the day after they win the present one. In Canada, voting is free. You can't buy a person's vote. You must ask for it. Of course, sometimes that vote is not available under any circumstances. An example is the sweet-faced senior I approached while I was street campaigning. When I held out her hand and asked for her vote, she said, I quote, "My hand will wither and fall off before I shake hands with a conservative." So use your vote wisely, but use it. Think about what you are voting for. And if you're unhappy with your politicians, think about running yourself. You can ask yourself that central question: would anyone vote for you? That would be in the adventure of a lifetime. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you so much, Dr. Carney, for a wonderful, informative, and lively address. And you know, the most powerful form of communication is the story. And the narrative of today's address, we may not remember every word, but certainly around election time, I know what will return to me. So thank you very much, and a fresh welcome to the Memorial family. And now you're leaving. Well, as Dr. Carney said, who knows where you will be, because the world is your oyster, and lucky world that they have you coming. We are very, very proud of you. We want to thank you for choosing Memorial for your studies. And we want to thank you for the contribution you have made, because there wasn't a day that was here that you didn't add something to Memorial's story that will be built on. And we have so many people who didn't grow up in Newfoundland who are part of our Memorial family now. And I truly hope that you had a great experience here in your time in Newfoundland and Labrador, and maybe even consider moving here and staying here. And wherever those of you go, those of you who will go away, we just wish you the very best. And we say thank you, and with pride, wish you well on your journey. You are Memorial alumni now, and that's a very important and special thing to be. One little tiny thing before we say goodbye this afternoon. Behind you, graduates in the audience, are all those folks who have just been your champions since you first declared, "I am here." So would you like to rise and turn and give them a thanks for all they've contributed? And I'd like all of them to rise now, and we're going to formally close your convocation with the singing of the Ode to Newfoundland. And I would ask the audience if they would kindly remain standing until the procession has left the hall. Thank you and congratulations.
More than 400 Inuit researchers, tradition bearers, community leaders, and students participated in 200 discussions and workshops earlier this month as Memorial and the Nunatsiavut government hosted the 20th Biennial Inuit Studies Conference. This is the second time the conference was hosted by Memorial, and the first time in the organization's 40-year history that it was co-hosted by an Inuit government. First-year students Julie Young and Mackenzie Grace have been named 2016 recipients of Schulich Leader Scholarships. Ms. Young is the recipient of an award valued at $80,000. A graduate of Bay d'Espoir Academy in Milltown, Newfoundland and Labrador, she comes to Memorial from St. Albans. Ms. Grace is the recipient of an award valued at $60,000 and is a graduate of Stella Maris Academy in Trepassey. Dr. Bing Cheng, Professor of Civil Environmental Engineering, Faculty of Engineering and Applied Science, is among the latest inductees to the College of New Scholars, Artists and Scientists at the Royal Society of Canada. The college is the country's first national system of multidisciplinary recognition for the emerging generation of Canada's intellectual leadership.